All right, let's pull back the curtain on a piece of software that has been one of the quiet, powerful engines of the internet for decades. I can almost guarantee you've used it today without even realizing it. We are talking about the one and only Apache Tomcat.
So let's start with a really fundamental question. Imagine you're a developer, right? You've just spent weeks, maybe months, writing this brilliant application in Java. How do you actually get that code off your computer and onto a server where millions of people can find it and use it online? Well, for a huge number of applications, this is the answer: Apache Tomcat. Think of it as the perfect home for your Java code to live on a server. It's that critical bridge between your application and a person's web browser. It's specifically built to handle key web technologies, like servlets, which are the real workhorses on the back end, and Jakarta server pages, which help build all that dynamic content you see on websites. Okay, so how does this all actually work? To really get it, we need to peek inside the Tomcat engine. And honestly, the best way to picture what's happening is to imagine a really, really efficient restaurant kitchen. So let's follow an order through this kitchen. First, a request shows up at the front door, where it's greeted by Coyote. Coyote is our host. Its job is to listen for all the incoming web requests and bring them inside. From there, the order gets passed to Catalina, our kitchen manager. Catalina is the servlet container, and its job is to look at the order and figure out exactly which servlet, which piece of your Java code, needs to handle it. But what if it's a special order, like a Jakarta server page or a JSP? Well, that's when Jasper, our specialist chef, gets called in. Jasper's job is to instantly cook that JSP into a standard servlet that Catalina can understand, and then send it right back. It's this beautiful, seamless, and super fast workflow. But Tomcat isn't just a bunch of clever code. It's got a pretty fascinating origin story. It's a classic tale of a side project at a huge tech company that grew up to become a cornerstone of the open source world. It all started way back in 1998 with a software architect at Sun Microsystems named James Duncan Davidson. He actually created Tomcat just as a simple reference to show how Java's servlet technology worked. But the real game-changing moment came in 1999 when Sun made an incredible decision. They donated the whole project to the Apache Software Foundation. That one move made it truly open source, and it just unleashed a global community to build and shape its future. And it took off. Just a few years later, by 2003, it was so well established that it got its own famous O'Reilly guide, which, as you know, is basically the ultimate seal of approval in the tech world. And that, of course, brings us to the name. Why Tomcat? Well, Davidson picked it because he wanted an animal that was self-sufficient, something that could fend for itself. His hope was that by making it open source, the project would learn to survive and thrive all on its own, driven by the community. And you know what? His vision absolutely came true. All right, now let's jump forward to one of the most important changes in Tomcat's entire history. And this is a really critical point for any developer who's working with modern Java applications. We're talking about the great namespace shift. So here's the backstory. The whole set of technologies that Tomcat uses was originally called Java Enterprise Edition, or Java EE. Eventually, that entire platform was moved over to the Eclipse Foundation, which is a neutral open-source home. This allowed it to innovate faster, driven by the community, away from the influence of any single company. And over there, it got a new name and evolved into what we now call Jakarta EE. And this is the result. This is the one change that affects absolutely everything for developers. In Tomcat 9 and all the older versions, the core Java packages started with the prefix JXAX. But starting with Tomcat 10 and the big move to Jakarta EE, that prefix changed to Jakarta. Now, that might just look like a simple name change, but in the world of programming, oh boy, this is a fundamental breaking change. Your old code simply will not run on the new versions until it's been updated. So the bottom line for developers is this. Moving an application from Tomcat 9 to Tomcat 10 means you have to make code changes. You can't just take your old app and drop it on a new server. The good news is the Apache community knew this would be a challenge, so they built a dedicated migration tool that's designed to help automate that process of switching all the old JIXX packages to the new Jakarta one. So, after more than 2 decades, and through all these massive shifts in the tech industry, why is Tomcat still such a dominant force? Let's take a look at what it's doing out there in the wild today. So what keeps it so popular? Well, first, it's open source. That means it's free, the code is transparent, and it's constantly being improved by a huge global community. It's also become legendary for its stability, which makes it a go-to choice for mission-critical applications. And that massive community means you're never stuck, there's always someone to help. And for people who need even more power, there's its big brother, Apache Tommy, that's Tommy, which adds the full suite of Jakarta's enterprise features right on top. And that brings us to the big final question. Tomcat was born in an era of big monolithic servers. But today's world is all about lightweight containers, microservices, and the cloud. So how does a classic powerhouse like this survive? Well, it's already proven for over 20 years that it can fend for itself. But in a digital world that literally never stops evolving, its next chapter is still being written.